Imagine America in the early 1960s. It's a nation divided by segregation, weighed down by discrimination. Millions of people have been denied their most basic rights for generations, and at the heart of this struggle is a young Baptist minister with a dream that seems almost impossible, Martin Luther King Jr. He envisions a world of equality, justice, and freedom for all, no matter the color of your skin. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1929, King grew up seeing the harsh reality of Jim Crow laws firsthand. He saw the separate and unequal facilities, schools and neighborhoods that defined life for African Americans in the South. These early experiences forged a man who would dedicate his life to challenging injustice, not with violence, but with words, courage, and nonviolent action. By the time the 1960s rolled around, the civil rights movement was gaining serious momentum. We saw sit-ins, freedom rides, and protests popping up everywhere, all highlighting the urgent need for change. King emerged as the charismatic leader of this movement. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, he preached nonviolent resistance while organizing marches, boycotts, and legal challenges to dismantle systemic racism. The March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in August 1963 was a turning point. Over 200,000 people from all corners of the country gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial. They came to demand civil and economic rights, to make their voices heard in a nation that had ignored them for far too long. As the crowds assembled, the weight of history hung in the air, a reminder of past struggles and the hope for a better future. When Martin Luther King Jr. stepped to the podium that day, he didn't just give a speech. He painted a picture of a world free from oppression. He described a nation where children of all races could play together, where justice would roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. His powerful imagery and rhythmic cadence captured the hearts and minds of everyone listening. In those moments, his voice became more than just a speech. It became a symbol of hope, a blueprint for change, and a challenge to a country that had avoided confronting its own failures for too long. What made King's message so powerful wasn't just the vision he offered, but the way he delivered it. He spoke with moral authority, compassion, and a relentless insistence on nonviolence. He emphasized that true freedom couldn't be won through hatred or revenge, and that justice was a journey, not a single destination. The diverse crowd felt the gravity of his words. They understood that the dream he spoke of wasn't just his own, but a dream for all of humanity. In the days, weeks, and years that followed, that speech ignited actions that reshaped the nation. It inspired Congress to pass landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. But the story of the movement wasn't just about speeches and laws. It was about incredible courage in the face of danger. It was about ordinary people putting their lives on the line for change. Think about the freedom riders traveling into hostile towns, or the young students at segregated lunch counters, enduring insults, arrests, and violence with unyielding determination. They knew that every act of peaceful resistance chipped away at the foundation of systemic oppression. King's leadership provided a moral compass for these efforts, connecting the struggles of individual communities to a national and even global conversation about human rights and dignity. The impact of the March on Washington and the I Have a Dream speech was immediate and profound. It drew international attention and placed enormous pressure on political leaders. It forced Americans to confront the glaring contradictions between their democratic ideals and the reality of racial injustice. While progress was slow and met with fierce resistance, the speech became a touchstone, quoted, referenced, and taught for generations. It reminds us that change is possible when courage meets conviction, and that words, when spoken with integrity and vision, can truly move mountains. King's philosophy of nonviolence was central to the movement's strategy. He insisted that fighting hate with hate only continues the cycle of oppression. Instead, he advocated for peaceful protests, marches and boycotts that highlighted injustice without resorting to violence. This approach won sympathy from many who might have otherwise stayed on the sidelines, proving that the moral high ground could be a powerful political tool. Beyond the March on Washington, King led other crucial efforts. The Birmingham campaign targeted segregation in one of America's most rigidly divided cities. His leadership in Selma, Alabama, where voting rights were systematically denied, culminated in marches that were met with brutal resistance but ultimately led to legal victories. In each of these moments, the "I Have a Dream" speech served as both a reminder and a motivator, reinforcing the vision of a just society and the peaceful means to achieve it. The media played a huge role in amplifying King's message. Television broadcasts and newspapers brought the reality of racism and the courage of protesters into living rooms across the country. It became impossible for Americans to ignore the inequities that had been swept under the rug for so long. This exposure helped shift public opinion, creating a climate where political leaders had to respond. This led to tangible reforms and inspired people worldwide to reflect on the universal struggle for freedom and equality. Dr. King's influence extended far beyond the United States. His message resonated with activists in South Africa fighting apartheid, with human rights advocates in Asia and Latin America, and with anyone confronting oppression in their own society. He proved that the ideals he championed, justice, equality, and the power of nonviolent action, transcend borders and cultures, becoming a universal call to conscience. Tragically, King's life was cut short in 1968. It was a stark reminder that the fight for justice often comes with immense personal risk. Yet, even in death, his vision continued to inspire millions. Memorials, schools, and institutions carry his name, and countless movements cite his principles as foundational to their activism. He showed us that a single individual, excess courage and clarity of purpose, can ripple through time and shape the world in profound ways. Today, when we reflect on Martin Luther King Jr. and his "I Have a Dream" speech, we see more than just a historical moment. We see a lesson in leadership, moral courage, and the enduring power of hope. It reminds us that progress is never automatic, that equality and justice require constant vigilance, and that the dreams of one generation can ignite the actions of the next. As we look at the ongoing struggles for civil rights and social justice around the world, King's words remain a beacon. They urge us to stand up, speak out, and work toward a world where every person is judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. A world where dignity, fairness, and humanity guide our laws and our communities. A world that may still be imperfect, but is closer to the vision he imagined that August day in 1963. He showed us that a single dream, pursued relentlessly, can indeed change the course of history. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to learn more about the pivotal moments that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.